It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome into Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 96 today. Really glad that you are with us, ready to enjoy this next hour, clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. So come on in. The pool is fine, ready to go. The hot tub is fired up. The grill is going full bore. Steak, potatoes, hamburgers, hot dogs, and even fish by personal request. We have it all for you on the grill. Fruits and vegetables off to the right, cold drinks off to the left, hot drinks inside, including espresso, because one of our listeners donated an espresso machine. But, you can get an iced espresso as well, so keep that in mind. And we have our infamous cigar bar in the back left corner of the pool area. We have extra chairs, extra towels, extra suntan lotion. There's really nothing for you to do except come in and spend the hour with us and enjoy the breeze, enjoy the sun on your skin. It just feels so great to be alive and clothes-free in nature as we were intended to be. So we are very glad that you are here. And as our regular listeners know, we have new listeners every week. But if you've been here before, by this being episode 96, you know what that really means. That means 96 straight Saturdays without a break, without fail. We've been coming to you every Saturday since July 1st of 2023 for a brand new 1-hour show. Not 10 minutes, not 23 minutes, 60 minutes every single week for the last 96 weeks. We are really glad that you're with us. Numbers keep growing. We're just very happy and grateful we can do this and bring more people into the world of naturism as we were intended to be. We say that so often, but it's very, very true. That's why it feels so good. So feel free to dive in and enjoy this hour with us. And by the way, we have a couple of things coming up for you. As we usually do, the next two shows, episodes 97, 98, we will have a guest interview, part 1 on 97, part 2 on 98. But then it gets a little bit tricky. The guest after that will be also on 2 shows, but instead of 99 and 100, he will be on 99 and 101. Because 100 we have set aside to provide a very special show for you. A lot of people have sent in audio clips, listeners, previous guests. We'll play those. Lisa Monroe is working on, maybe I shouldn't say this. I better not say what I was about to say. And Lisa Monroe is working on something very special involving music. I will not ask her about that today because I know she doesn't have the answer. We'll talk about that next week. How's that for a deal between us? And we're going to celebrate the 100th show. Now, the only exception to the 100th show, every show up until now, and through 99 will be exactly 60 minutes long, technically 59 minutes and 59 seconds. We'll call it 60 minutes. Our 100th show might not be an hour. It might be more. It won't be less, that's for sure. Might be more than an hour. We will let you know as we get a little closer to the date, which is May 24th. Saturday, May 24th is when we will drop episode 100. And as we get closer to the date and figure things out a little bit more, how the guests will fit in, the guest audio clips, that is, and how our special event involving music will fit in and how Lisa and I will fit in. We will probably go more than an hour that day, so we're just giving you a heads up on that. So that takes us up to episode 101. On 102 and 103, we will have a guest, part 1 and part 2. But here we go. Here's the big news of the day. You knew it was coming. On episode 104, we are not going to have a guest on that show. It's going to be Lisa Monroe and Frank Stone for 60 minutes coming at you. How's that sound for a deal? Not because we don't have guests, because that is certainly not the case. We have guests booked for a very long time. But a lot of you have written in, hey, how about you and Lisa just talk for 60 minutes and do the whole show. So we're going to do that for you on episode 104, and then on 105 and 106, we'll get back to the part 1, part 2 routine of having a guest. Lots to look forward to, lots of terrific guests, our 100th show, and Lisa Monroe and I doing a show together. Boy, do we take care of you, don't we? You are the best listeners in the world. We have no problem spoiling you at all. Well, I don't know about you, but I hear some music. Could it be? Yes, it is. It's time for the great, the completely clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the completely over-the-top, completely clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
That's an especially nice Monroe. I like that very much. You're really doing good practicing on that.
That's all I do. I walk around my house every day practicing that out loud. The neighbors and my dogs think I'm a little odd, but it's all for the show.
Yeah, but it keeps Lisa on your mind all the time, so that's not a problem. I like that.
Right.
And by the way, I'm fine. How about yourself?
I am doing well, ready to go. The weather is changing quite a bit where we are. And again, I always hate to get into the weather thing because people much farther north than us are thinking, would those two stop talking about their beautiful weather down there? Mm-hmm. Well, we don't mean it that way. We really don't.
No.
But we're just talking about where we are. You can literally get outside every day now for the whole day if you want to. You have to be careful about the sun, but
yeah.
Otherwise, I'm outside every day. I don't know about you. Do you get outside every day or not necessarily?
I get outside as often as I can. Sometimes work keeps me inside or someplace where I don't want to be, but I definitely love to be outside as much as possible. And, about that, perspective on where we are versus where they are, what people need to know is that they think we don't have seasons, but we do.
Mm-hmm.
We have hot and then, oh my goodness, I'm going to die hot.
Yeah.
And so, we do have issues to deal with that a lot of other people don't because of the extreme humidity and temperatures that we've been looking at, especially in the last couple of years, and not to mention hurricanes and things like that. So, it's all in perspective, but we are at least fortunate that in the middle of winter, we can walk outside and not freeze to death.
Yeah, I guess there really is no perfect place to live, at least in the United States. There's always some issue, whether it's an earthquake on the West Coast, hurricanes where we are, tornadoes in the middle of the country. I don't know. I don't think there is a perfect place. So wherever you live, you probably have a lot of good things going on, but you might have a few bad things. Same with us. A lot of good things going on, a couple of bad things.
Exactly. So all in perspective.
All right. Well, let's get to it, young lady. We want to kick off with our Patreon peeps, our paying Patreon peeps, the triple Ps, the P cubes.
I just love that.
Everybody knows why we did this. Doing a lot of free shows, giving up paid shows to do this. Not too bright. We started a Patreon page, and a lot of you have come forward to help support us financially, pays the expenses, and we really appreciate that a lot. And Lisa Monroe, who are our two paying Patreon peeps today?
They are Gerald and Peter, and we really appreciate their support and glad to have them along with us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Gerald and Peter. And Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but each paying Patreon peep, they get a number of things in return, depending on what level they sign up for. But one thing every PPP gets is a wristband. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And I have a stack of them ready to be mailed out on my desk right now. They just need stamps. So, yes, every Patreon that signs up with us, no matter what level, gets a free wristband. And they're really, well, they're they just say Naked Nudists and Naturists on it. They're kind of cool.
All right. Well, one of our listeners wrote a note to Jennifer. He was at the Shangri-La Ranch and basically said he's at the pool, no clothes on, but he does have his Naked Nudist and Naturist wristband on. So he wanted us to know that, and we appreciate that very much. Before you know it, everybody will be wearing these. Everybody in the world, 8 billion people, 7, whatever we have, everybody will be wearing one, right?
They certainly will be, and that will make that wristband company quite happy if we can order that many. So somewhere down the road, we may try to offer them as, to everyone. But right now, we're just keeping them in the Patreons because it's kind of hard to add those to the store the way we're doing it. But definitely, if you're interested, go check out our Patreon page and see what you might want to do, and we'll be happy to send you a wristband.
All right. And that link is on every show in the show notes, but it's also on our website, correct?
Yes, it is. And you can hit our shop up at nakednudistandnaturist.com
Okay. And then click on which link?
and the NNN shop.
All right. That is perfect. How are we doing for merchandise? Any updates on your end?
Oh, it's getting kind of busy, and I love it. But we're just seeing more and more people ordering things, and I will say it again: if you like beach towels, apparently a lot of people are going for our beach towels. So please, just get on the bandwagon and go get your beach towel because they really are nice. I'm very pleased with how they turned out.
Well, you called it correctly. You said in the winter for us,
Hmm.
things are going to start to, no pun intended, things are going to
Hmm.
start heating up when the weather turns warmer. People are
Yeah.
going to want this because now they're going to the beach.
Hmm.
They'll need a beach towel. They'll need a cozy. They'll need pretty much everything. But one thing you could use every day of the year is an coffee mug. You and I
Hmm.
have one at each show, and we're drinking out of it right now. And the coffee tastes extra good. No scientific proof of that, but it's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I don't think there's any scientific proof to it, but there's certainly the coffee is fabulous coming out of these cups.
That's right. That's our story, and we're going with it. And
Yes.
let's move on to our content. Now, we have a couple of emails from listeners. The first one is from Steve in Pennsylvania. He said we could use his name. And remember, I'm fairly cheap and easy. You pay us a compliment, you become our favorite listener of the day. And Steve, for the moment, you are it, unless somebody outdoes you later on today. That's how easy we are. At least I am.
Well, I'm pretty easy too, and just it's nice to hear those nice comments. So we appreciate it, and yeah, yeah, they're all our favorites, but some are a little more favorite than others at the moment. So
All right. It starts off Frank and Lisa, congrats on the great work you have done with Naked Nudists and Naturists. Obviously, you started with a more professional presentation than others, but even with that, you continue to get better with each show. See, I told you, he's our favorite listener of all time for the moment. And that's subject to change at any moment because that's how easy I am. I'm not speaking for you. If you want to say
no,
you're easy, that's up to you.
no, no, please not, because he's our special at the moment, but he's
Right.
always special. So let's put it that
That's true.
way, as
That's
they
true.
all are.
That's true. All right. Continuing on. Recently, I have been thinking about two specific things in regard to the language we use around nudism and naturism. And why don't you take it from there?
All right. He says specifically, we seem to struggle with calling it a lifestyle movement or whatever. Lifestyle as a term has been co opted by our swinger friends. As a result, we find ourselves saying how much we enjoy the lifestyle and then quickly have to clarify not that lifestyle. And movement sounds too religious, evangelical, or other similar off putting words. I rather like the term community because that is what we all say we find when we come to nudism, naturism. I am thinking we can change our language to call it a community. And when we discuss it with our friends and family and invite newbies to join us, we are simply saying welcome to the community. Additionally, we hear a lot about normalizing nudity and then do a bunch of verbal gymnastics to explain that nudity is already normal, etc. Rather, I think what we hope to do is make nudity unremarkable, not unlike people driving a Cybertruck, dyeing their hair bright colors, or wearing tattoos. The first several times you encounter something new, it is remarkable. Once you see it routinely, it becomes unremarkable. Isn't that what happens at our new beaches and resorts? It's completely unremarkable to see someone naked.
Yep. Yeah, very good point. And I purposely go out of my way to refrain from saying normalizing nudity because it's already normal. So he has a very good point there. And
Very
finishing
much.
up, so perhaps we could adopt some new language. We could even have a tagline: the nudity community making nudity unremarkable. Keep up the good work and go enjoy a clothes free day. Thanks. And that's Steve in Pennsylvania. And first of all, Steve, you never have to worry about us not going and enjoying a clothes free day because that's how we live 8 days a week, right, Lisa Monroe?
Yes, definitely. And, I like that idea of community as well. And in fact, it's something that we started using quite a few months ago, I think, because someone mentioned that on one of the interviews. And it is a better word to use than lifestyle because that is a confusing word.
Yeah, I tend to not get into the language, the terms, and we explained this really early on. That's even why we call our show Naked Nudists and Naturists. We try to get every word in there we can, and we could have gone on forever and added, lifestyle and community and whatever else as the
Exactly.
longest show title in history. But only because before we started the show, we noticed online people were arguing with each other. People in the community arguing with each other over terms. I thought that is the worst thing you can do. We have enough issues with people outside of the community. We should be arguing with them, not with each other. And that prompted the name for the show, Naked Nudists and Naturists. Just here we are. We're just all clothes free and living for all the right reasons. Let's cut the nonsense, dive in, and whatever you want to call it that. On the one hand, we don't engage in the term, any term. And at the same time, we don't disagree with whatever term you use. Whatever works for you, use it. Although he does have a pretty good idea for the tagline, the nudity community, making nudity unremarkable. Well, it already is unremarkable if you look at it as a true naturist, but maybe we should put that out there. Nothing wrong with his email at all. What do you think?
No, nothing at all. And I think he's right in at least addressing this issue. And it is a bone of contention for a lot of people. And we do need to even get past that within our own environment and just, who we are, what we do. That's, it's normal, it's fine, it is unremarkable. So let's just not worry about the semantics of things.
I have an interview coming up I won't say exactly when because we don't like to tip our hand here, but it was with a gentleman who was dating a woman. He was a full-fledged naturist, big time into it. And he started dating this woman, and he thought fairly early on in the dating relationship, like, this might be the one. I'd probably better tell her I'm a naturist because if she finds out later, all heck could break loose. And like we've said on the show many times. And so he did. He told her, so, well, here's the story. And he actually tells the story during the interview. We've already done the interview. And he tells the story like, here's the deal. Here's what I am. Here's what I do. What do you think? And her response was, well, it sounds pretty interesting. Tell me more. And so he did. And he said, would you like to go with me in upcoming weekend? We have a big event. She goes, sure. Let's try it. I have nothing to lose. So I think by him telling her way early on in the relationship, before anything else happened, he was up front and she had no trust issues. So let's go try it. Now, she showed up as a 100% non-naturist. Even driving there was saying to him, I don't know if I can do this. I might just stay clothed the whole time, but I enjoy being with you, so we'll just see how it goes. So he said he pulled the car in. He started to unload the car, suitcases, tent, whatever they had, and he looked around the other side of the car, and there she was standing outside of the car, totally naked, talking to other naked people. He said, wow, that is the quickest transformation in history.
I love it. That's fabulous.
Yeah, it's because it is so unremarkable. Once you do, it's like, well, this is totally normal, as they say, right?
It certainly is. And it's that fear of the unknown. It's that, most people that aren't into this community, so to speak, they're fearful of this. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what's going to happen. And the fact is, nothing happens. You're just running around with your clothes off and talking to people and having a good time. There's nothing wrong. It's just, it's amazing to me how that happens.
Yeah. I should have asked him to expound on his immediate thought and reaction when he walks around the car like, oh boy, it's going to be a rough day. She'll be clothed all day. My gosh, she's there naked, talking to other naked people, having a great time. And he said, again, this happened before I unloaded the car. It was that quick. She jumped out, stripped off, and now she's already into socializing within naturism. So
that's fantastic. It does sound like he might have found the one. That
I
he certainly
believe so.
enjoyed. Let's hope so. Anyway.
And the ending to that story is they ended up getting married and are still
good.
happily married. So yeah, that
That's
worked
wonderful.
out. That worked
It
out.
is, we've had all these conversations with people when they're not open up front, things happen down the road. So this is a very good example of get it out there and you might be surprised on what you'll find.
That's right. Well, let's move on to our second email. This is John from Arizona. Hello, greetings from sunny Arizona. I love the show. Well, now maybe he just became our favorite guest. I'm not sure. Maybe they're in a tie. I'm just too cheap and easy. Let's move on. I love the show and had a question for you both. Why don't you go ahead and read that?
Okay. There are a handful of unofficial clothing optional beaches in Arizona. Do you think it's better to try and get these beaches legally recognized as clothing optional or leave them as unofficial and just use it as is and risk that at some point these areas could face pushback as more textile visitors frequent these places? My concern is that the opportunity for recreating clothes free would be taken away if someone takes offense. Then law enforcement or land managers could change the rules for the use of these places.
And then he finished up with, "Thank you for any advice and your thoughts. Much love, John." And again, it's John from Arizona. And I already responded to John, and I basically said there's no perfect answer to this. And with us not being on the ground there to physically see what's going on, it's tough to answer it. And so I asked him some questions. Are these unofficial nude beaches attended by a lot of people? Are there huge social gatherings, or is it just a smattering of people along the way? And also, when at these nude beaches, what is the proximity to a road and parking lot? Can one easily be seen nude, or does it take some effort? The answer to these questions will go a long way toward determining your best course of action. As with all things in life, some things are best left alone to enjoy, while others are worth fighting the good fight. And I didn't intentionally give a non answer. It's just we can't give an answer without physically being there. So they'll have to make their best decision. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I think your non-answer was about the best that you can possibly do in these circumstances because we don't know, and you don't know how open the communities are. Is it a more conservative area? Is it a more open area? You just don't know, and I think the questions of how many people go and how many people are nude, and those are all valid questions. And sometimes it's better not to rattle the cage until the cage needs to be unlocked and something done about it. But, it's a really tough question, and it's unfortunate when there are places where people feel uncomfortable even being nude and enjoying the beach because you never know what's going to tap on your shoulder.
Yeah, right. That's probably the perfect answer right there. Is sometimes it's best to rattle the cage. Sometimes it's best to hope nobody finds out about this.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's best to make the other side make the first move. You're a bunch of naturists, you're on the beach, you're keeping it quiet. Suddenly, either police show up or somebody
Mhm.
shows up to shut it down. Well, now you have a fight on your hands that somebody else started. Maybe sometimes that's the best way to go. Like, I was willing to keep quiet and keep my mouth shut and not tell anybody, but you are the one who made it a big issue. Let's go to war and let's fight this out in court, and we'll go from there. But again, we're not giving that advice because we're not there to give that advice. But what are your thoughts?
Well, it's we know that all it takes is one bad apple, as they say. And it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, one person outside of the norm or who takes offense or who badmouths or whatever can create a situation where everyone loses.
Hmm.
So, I'm I'm kind of the person that, let's just if everything's working and they're clothing optional and nobody's having a problem, then let's just do it and stay that way. And then when the time comes and you think that there's enough people who are, feeling the same way and want to go ahead and maybe get a section of that beach as a nude beach, then maybe that's the point
Yeah.
and the time to do it.
And I did tell John we would put this out to our listeners, so we're doing
Mhm.
that now. If you're listening to the show, what do you think? A lot of unofficial naturist beaches in Arizona. No harm, no foul. Nobody seems to care. Maybe nobody even knows except those who go. Should they make an issue of it and try to get these stamped as official nude beaches, or should they just keep quiet and hope nobody ever finds out and enjoy the life whenever they go? Any other comments on that?
No, I think that covers it. I think, I wish them well, and I hope that they can continue to enjoy that beach regardless, whether it's clothing optional or nude, because that's what this is all about. That's where it's
Yeah.
the most fun to me, on that beach.
Yeah, absolutely. And we thank John from Arizona. We also thank Steve from Pennsylvania. And obviously, I'm joking anytime I say somebody's immediately our favorite listener of all time. Don't anybody take that personally. All of our listeners are tied for first place, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's getting pretty crowded on that
Yeah.
platform, and that's a good thing.
That's right.
These people have been incredibly wonderful to us, and they've stuck with us, and it's just very much appreciated on our part. How nice you guys have been.
Yeah. We did a show, gosh, I think it was episode 93. So the first one earlier this month on April 5th, if I have my dates correct, where we talked about the different countries and cities throughout the world where we are heard. A lot of feedback on that. Maybe we'll talk about that down the road a bit. The one thing I forgot to mention, I mentioned this on a previous show, forgot to mention it on that show, is every single episode gets listeners every single day. That's almost impossible to fathom or fully comprehend, even for us. But if you're out there listening, yeah, every single show. So after today, episode 96, starting tomorrow, we will have all 96 shows being listened to, whether it's one listener or a billion or somewhere in between. So, yeah, the numbers are big. We are literally heard everywhere except the one communist country. All of that is true. Maybe we'll get into some of the comments down the road, all of which were positive, by the way. People really appreciate what we're doing here.
It's just amazing to me the scope that, I guess it shouldn't be amazing because, with the internet and with the ability to get around the world with a message for anything, that's fairly commonplace. But for a show about naturism to be that received around the world, that tells us a couple of things. One, that, they like the show, which is great for us, but it also tells us that naturism is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to remember that this is not an isolated thing to, Miami-Dade County and Haulover Beach. This is, something that happens in every country, and there are organizations in every country. So we just need to remember that there's a lot of us out there.
Yep. And the last thing to mention, we talked about this last week, home nudists.
Mhm.
If you're a home nudist, you walk in, the clothes come off, they stay off until you have to leave again. That's a whole bunch of you.
Mhm.
We support that, we admire that. But that doesn't mean you should not try social naturism. Because I have found, as have other people found, when you do that, it just brings everything into a clearer focus. Like, oh, it's almost like a whole new world has opened up, and that whole new world is very good. And I know that you agree.
I do, and I think in a lot of ways, social nudism, going to a nude beach, going to a resort, going to a non-landed event for an organization, all of those are great things because, in many ways, it validates how you feel about what you are enjoying, and you know that it's normal because other people are doing it too, and they're enjoying it. So it's a great feeling no matter what, and it is fun to do.
Absolutely. All right, Lisa Monroe, I'm going to dash off to part 2 of my interview with Josh from the Australian Naturist Federation. Go out there and have a great clothes-free half hour, and we'll see you after the interview.
I will definitely have a good half hour.
Okay.
See you later.
All right, you bet. Bye. The very terrific Lisa Monroe pops in here once a week for these segments and also does all of our website work, our Thursday memes on social media, handles all of our merchandise, a huge helping hand and a huge part of the show. And we thank Lisa Monroe for all of her time today, but she will be back after the conclusion of the upcoming interview, so don't go away. Lisa Monroe will be back, and we appreciate Lisa Monroe for all that she does. As a reminder, we are the official podcast of the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, that is absolutely beyond belief phenomenal. But if not, guess what? You can become a member within moments. Just go to aanr.com, follow the navigation to membership, and within moments, you'll become a member just like I am and just like Lisa Monroe is. How about that? Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 96 today. Really glad that you were with us. Hopefully you're able to enjoy the show clothes-free if you're in a place where you can do so. If not, we understand, but hopefully you can be. But for now, let's get to part 2 of my interview with Josh, the current public relations officer for the Australian Naturist Federation. I had a very unusual experience recently, which kind of goes to your point. Now, we don't do video here. We've talked about it, and one of these days we might put out video shows as well. So it's strictly audio. So if you listen to the show, people only know me by my voice. I mean, you and I are seeing each other right now, but everybody else, it's just a voice. Well, I pulled up to this coffee shop that had a drive-through to it. You talk into the speaker to whoever's on the other end. I want this, that, and the other thing. Okay, great. And I pulled up, and it was this young female. I can't tell you the age. I'm going to guess 17 to 20. I'm not really good at that. And she looked at me as though either she had seen a ghost or had seen Elvis Presley, or I'm not sure what she thought she saw. I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And she said, by any chance, is your first name Frank? I thought, well, yeah. I'm thinking, how did she know that? Duh. And she goes, okay, that'll be X number of dollars. And I gave her my credit card, and she looked at it and read it. She goes, "So you are Frank Stone?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "Why?" She goes, "We listen to your show all the time. My family and I listen to it." She goes, "When you came through on the speaker, I thought, my gosh, he sounds like Frank Stone, and you're him." So
Yeah, wow, that's unbelievable.
that's a little different than your story. You're
Yeah,
recognized much more because your face is out there, right?
yeah,
Good thing and a bad thing, I guess,
yeah,
depending on the day.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Yes, I'm Josh. Could you please leave me alone? I'm with my family. We just want to have lunch.
Yeah, we haven't got to that stage, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or if you're, down in the dumps, like, hey, has anybody recognized me? Yes. A
Yeah,
100 people come up and want your autograph. So it works both
yeah,
ways.
yeah.
But what's this festival? You told me before we started, you just mentioned a moment ago, there's a
Yep.
festival that you're fairly heavily involved in, maybe even run. What's that all about?
Yeah, so Nude Up Australia Festival. It started, putting you on the spot now, some time ago. And it started around a body color, which is body painting event at one of the resorts in Queensland. And we're sitting around the fire there, and my son back then turned around and said, "Dad, I want to do hot air ballooning." And I went, "Righto, no worries." So me being me, just sitting around the fire, said, "Why don't we go do a nude hot air balloon ride?" To everyone around the fire, and they're like, "Let's do it."
Yeah.
So, one year in January, I organised a hot air balloon, and 27 of us went up in a hot air balloon, all starkers, and
Wow.
it was just brilliant. It was really good. And then after it, I went, I need to open this up to the whole of Australia. And then
Mm,
how am I going to entice people to come? And then what are we going to do around the bonfire? Um, we need to listen to music. And then one thing's led to another. And us Aussies, obviously, we do things big and bold and everything else. And
yeah.
they begun a 3-day festival with music and bands and camping and yeah, and so we've done it on the Australia Day weekend. So we celebrate being Australian, and then also we go up in the hot air balloon. That was the Sunday morning we do that, but yeah, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday is the festival. So yeah, and we do things like Boot Scootin' Friday, which is all country music, and then we do the Saturday, which is just like a fun day on the Saturday. So we have markets set up so everyone can sort of set up a market and they sell their wares and promote their clubs and that sort of stuff. And then we just get into just music. So yeah, it's just
Wow.
it's music from 8 a.m. in the morning until like midnight at night. So yeah, just flat out bands and stuff. So
Wow. Where is this hosted?
it's hosted in Queensland. We do it in a secret location every year.
Okay.
We haven't done it for the last 2 years because we're having trouble with insurance for an
Yeah.
event, which we spoke about off air as well, which is coming a big problem in Australia for everyone, not just me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that is proving to be really hard to sort of get it back off the ground and running again. So
Yeah, well, best wishes on that. And we're having some of that in the United States as well, people getting their insurance canceled. I'm not sure about businesses, but I know homeowners are. It's like, well, how do I insure my home? Well, I guess you can't. You just hope for the best. And if a hurricane hits you, oh well. Well,
yeah, yeah,
that's no way to live, is it?
oh, that's right. So yeah, and so
Yeah.
a lot of event insurance in Australia is getting they're not even looking at it. They're not even giving you a quote. They're just going, "No, we're not going to cover you."
Wow.
So yeah.
And this is not a knock against naturism. It's just events in general, right?
Events in general, yeah. So events that have
Yeah.
been running for 25 odd years. So
Wow.
yeah, have just been knocked on the head and saying, "No, we're not covering anymore," because the insurance companies just don't want to stick their neck out anymore.
Wow. See, in my mind, and perhaps I was misguided. Obviously, I was. That's why insurance companies exist, is to take on that risk. And if they have
Yeah.
to jack up their rates to make it worth their while, which they have no problem doing in most cases, then they should do that. But a lot of companies are saying nope. And where I live, a lot of companies have gone out of business rather than fight the fight. Like, okay, we made a lot of money. We're going to close the doors. We'll take it and run and buy 16 yachts and some beachfront property in 10 different countries and call it good. Uh, so I don't know. What are you going to do about that? You have to wait till it comes around again, till the economy changes. Any hope at all?
Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine, I suppose. I don't
Wow.
know how we get around this problem that we've got now in Australia, and it's not just for events now. It's actually stemming to resorts as well. Can't get public liability insurance and stuff like that. So it's stemming across all aspects. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, hang in there with that for sure. Now, if somebody in Australia is a nudist at home, they don't tell anybody, they don't go in public or attend events, they just like living clothes free, and whether it's one person or the whole family, husband or wife, whatever, why should they join the Australian Naturist Federation?
We get this question a lot, and it normally comes in the aspect of what does the ANF do for us? And it's like,
Sure.
well,
Yeah.
I always answer that question: is what do you want from the ANF? Is the better question. Because we don't know what they want out of the ANF. And so we can offer all these things up, but it may not be suited for you. So we offer a range of things. We offer a pub night every night is open to every second Friday. We offer a pub night, so it's virtual pub night. So we just offer the Zoom link to people, and they can join and have a chat with other naturists throughout Australia. And that's a great one for newbies. It's just like, I'm not getting out of the comfort of my own home, and I can stay clothed whilst we're on Zoom, and all you can see is the top half of your head if that's what you want. A classified section so that you can advertise all your wares and your resorts and all that sort of stuff, and just a mirage of different things. And all the events are on the events section in the members section. There's a forum on there as well, so you can jump on there and have a look at that. Where do I? Where do I? It just goes on and on and on. And obviously, you get discounts as well from various resorts as well throughout Australia for being a member. It may only be $5 off, but it's $5 off type of thing. So yeah, and obviously you get full access to our full website as well. And on there is a map of Australia, and members get better access to certain things on that map. So you get a full breakdown list of the resorts, of where they are and what they do and everything else. Whereas if you're just a non-member, you just get the listing and a dot, and that's it.
We get the same thing here a lot with the American Association for Nude Recreation, AANR.
Yeah.
And the big push now is for younger people to come in, the younger generation.
Yeah.
And what we found out, what they have found out, is younger people say, I love living clothes free. I'd love to be part of the action, but I don't want to play shuffleboard for an hour and then sit at the pool for 8 hours, having iced tea. I'm 25. I want
Yeah.
to do some things, baby. So find some activities, keep me busy. I'll relax when I need to. I'll play shuffleboard if I want to. And so that's the big push now for various resorts and locales is, okay, come on in. Kind of like you said, well, what do you want? And the younger people are telling AANR what they want. Now it's a matter of getting it to them. And so I'm glad you're asking that question. Are you having any issues with younger people joining up like we are in America?
Massive issue with younger people joining up. Unfortunately, our unless you're brought up with it like my children,
Right.
it's sort of hard to get people introduced into the lifestyle. Because sometimes they just want to do their weekly grind Monday to Friday, and then a Saturday morning they just want to quickly go down to the beach and get the kid off, and then come home and then go back to their normal lives. They don't want to be part
Yeah.
of an ANF or a club or anything like that. They just go and do it, and then come back and not be associated with anyone. So that's where we're finding it, and we've got a group called GNA, which is Get Naked Australia. He's doing wonders down here in the land down under, as you so call us, and just upbeat things for younger people. Like we do, he does a boat cruise on the Sydney Harbour, and it's a DJ, so it's upbeat music on the boat, and they visit one of the naturist beaches in Sydney, and it's just become a raging success every year, to the point where I think they run 3 boats to this location, and 100 to 150 people just on the boat, and they have a DJ, and it's just this massive big vibe thing, which is really, really cool. And I actually said to Brendan this year that I want to get down for it this year and do it. So getting the younger people involved is a massive thing, because they don't want to spend the whole 3 days at a naturist resort. They want to spend 3 or 4 hours doing something. I suppose their attention span's not as long as us oldies, I suppose, about
Yeah.
staying put for more than 5 minutes. They want to do something and
Right.
move on to the next event or next thing for the day. So yeah, it is a massive problem getting the younger generation into naturism.
Okay. Well, a lot of that then might go on the parents. So you got a couple parents belong to your club. Bring the kids along, or at least indoctrinate them, if that's the word I can use,
Yeah,
into the lifestyle where they practice at home. Because a lot of people do that too. Parents, they have kids, always clothes on at home, and then they sneak away for a Saturday afternoon, just the husband and wife. They don't tell the kids where they're going. We're going to your great aunt's house. You never met her, but she exists, and I
yeah,
promise. And so that doesn't really do any good for the younger generation. They don't know. So at least maybe just in your case, obviously your kids are naturists, but if they're not, maybe just tell them, yeah, your dad and I are going to the naturist club, and we'll be back at 6 o'clock or whatever, right? At least it gets it out there.
yeah. I noticed that on the weekend. I did a couple of interviews for the Grin and Bear It on the beach there, yeah, the people that I was talking to, there was like, oh, kid free time. They'd left the kids at home. It's like, bring the kids with you. This is how we get it
Yeah.
coming through the ranks. And yeah, but so some people are still stuck in that mindset that they need to leave the kids home. It's not for the kids. It's adult only time. So if we can keep promoting that it's a lifestyle rather than just a thing that we do for 5 minutes on a Saturday afternoon. So
Yeah. Well, some of that goes back to that old stigma. Your mom and I are going to sneak away because, we're going to get naked. And a lot of people think that's sexual. So we're not going to tell you what we're doing. Well, it's not sexual. The mom and
no, it's
dad
definitely
know.
not.
Yeah, they're not going to the club to have sex with 1,000 people. They're going to enjoy the sun and the breeze and the camaraderie, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I get asked this question a lot. It's like, what do you do at a nudist resort? And I said, well, what do you do at a caravan park? It's exactly the same. Just we don't have clothes on. It's exactly the same. You do the same thing at a caravan park that you do at a nudist resort. It's exactly the same. It's just a nudist caravan park. So yeah, just trying to get that message across that just because we're naked, we're not doing anything untoward and everything else. And there's nothing unusual about what we do. It's exactly the same as a textile caravan park. So yeah.
Yeah. I had gone to this one club. Now, even though I was raised clothes free and always was, I didn't go to a naturist club until I was in my 30s. We lived 2 or 3 hours away from the nearest one. It just wasn't convenient. As a kid, you can't drive, and then you're in college, you're too busy, and then you're working, you got a family. Shoot. Well, I finally decided, that's enough of this nonsense. So about 30, age 35 or so. And I, even as a lifelong naturist, I didn't know what I was wandering into. Okay, I'm probably going to see a lot of naked people. I hope that's all I see. I hope I don't see a lot of bizarre behavior, because if I do, I'm going to get in the car and get out of there.
Yeah.
And so I got there, got my clothes off, started walking around, beautiful facility. And this woman pulled up in a car, and she got out and started unpacking, at a site, like a tent site, and waved to her, whatever. I'm just walking. She still had clothes on, and circled around, came back, and there were two guys, clothes free, helping her set up the tent. And I thought to myself, on the one hand, this is how life should be.
Hmm.
She wasn't screaming, "Oh my gosh, you're naked! Get out of here!" It's like, hey, love to have the help. And the three of them are setting up the tent. And on the other hand, I was thinking, what are these guys up to? Are they really just helping to be a nice human being? Or are they trying to maybe cash in a ticket later for something else? I don't know. And I didn't know, and I still don't know. But it was just nice to see people helping each other, clothes free or not, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's I can't push and emphasize the whole thing. It's just normal. It's just a
Yeah.
lifestyle that we partake in, and we do everything that textile people do. We just do it without our clothes on. That's
Yeah.
that's the only difference.
Yeah. I mean, I think eventually we'll get there. We are making some inroads with the non-nudist and non-naturist population. For a long time, it was, as we've said a few times now, well, naked equals sex. No, it's just, as you said, a lifestyle, and more people are getting into it. And I've had to deal with that even in my own neighborhood. People will hear, oh, Frank's got his clothes off at his pool. Well, we know what he's up to, and a couple have mentioned that to me. I said, no, what I'm up to is the same thing you're up to when you're at your pool. You're enjoying the
Yeah,
sun, you're having some iced tea, and then eventually you swim and go inside. And they said, "That's it?" I said, "Yeah, that's it. No wild parties going on at all. And if there were wild parties, you can have a wild party with your clothes on. People tend to forget that, don't they?"
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that was where my idea of the festival come along way back when. It's just like people take it for granted that they can go to a band or a concert with their clothes on. It's like, well, what's the difference? Why don't we just do it without our clothes on. Like, there's no difference. So that was one of the reasons and the driving force behind me holding that was the fact that I wanted somewhere for naturists to go and listen to a band without their kit on. So
Yeah, yeah. There are some clubs that I've heard this. I haven't seen this in action, but a nudist club, naturist club, the audience is nude, but they don't allow the performers to be nude. That well, that's just kind of strange, but okay. I'm not here to judge or make any judgments, but to me, when everybody is clothes free, everything just seems better with the world. I'm guessing you agree.
also, when I seek out bands for the festival, they're big name bands, like big, very well named bands in Australia.
Okay,
So they have an image to hold and stuff, and I suppose they don't want to be photographed on stage without their kit on and it be pushed out to the
sure,
general public. So
right.
that's the reason why they stay clothed, and they have the option if they want to. And we had a well known country singer. As the lead act, or the headline, I should say, by the name of Adam Brand, for our
Mhm.
Boot Scooting Friday, and he's a well-known country singer in Australia, and he was a great sport. He's awesome, and he joked about it in the lead up for the advertising and everything. Will I get my clothes off or won't I get my clothes off? He was creating that anticipation, and
Yeah.
all to all our surprise, he stood up about 3 or 4 songs in because the festival last time round was stinking hot. It was 40 degrees
Wow.
Celsius.
Okay.
So yeah, every day. And to our surprise, he just got up on stage and just ripped his shirt off. So because it was just so flipping hot, and so
Yeah.
yeah, and obviously all the girls were like, take the rest off, take the rest off. But yeah, no, it didn't happen. So yeah,
Yeah, well, it go back to that old stigma again, that they operate mostly in the textile world. So if they
yeah,
have their clothes off, the picture gets taken, it gets out there. It's like, whoa,
yeah,
we got to
exactly.
get away from the whoa response. Once we get away from the whoa response, I think we'll be better off.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
yeah,
So
yeah, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. And at the end of your blurb on the Australian Naturist Federation website, you say, "Have a fantastic day, and remember to always stay true to yourself and be kind to one another." If we keep those two things in mind, true to yourself, be kind to each other, we'll be a whole lot better off, won't we?
that's right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that whole staying true to yourself is don't hold back. You've only got one life, type of thing. So um, live a full life. If there's something you want to do, do it. Stay true to your beliefs. Stay true to everything that you believe in, and you'll get a lot further. Rather than letting other people dictate to you what you do in life.
Yeah. One of the issues that we struggle with over here, I don't know if it's around the globe or not, probably is this, and it's gotten worse over the years. Somebody will say something, and especially when it comes to politics, but it could be anything. Well, I believe this. And the next person will say, well, you're totally stupid and you're an idiot and a fool because I believe this other thing. And then they start arguing and calling each other names and eventually, walk away wanting to beat each other up. It's like, when you're kind with each other, they're kind to each other. Somebody says, well, I believe this. And if you believe the polar opposite, that's fine. But I'm encouraging people because this is how I was raised. Okay, so you believe that. I don't. But tell me why you believe that. Maybe there's something I missed. But we've gotten away from that. People aren't seeking learning or knowledge or discernment anymore. It's just, I believe what I believe. And if you don't believe it, you're a fool. Well, that's not being kind at all, is it?
No. And I've got
Yeah.
this big thing of how boring would the world be if we all had the same opinions and beliefs? It wouldn't go around, would it? The world would not go around if we all had the same beliefs and opinions on everything. So, your own beliefs and your own opinions is what drives the world and what makes it a better place. So, yeah, and
Yeah.
and be kind to one another about those opinions and beliefs, and we all get along. And hey, if you're kind about someone's belief, it may change your mind later on. You go, hang on, did he have a point? Didn't he have a point? No,
Yeah.
I still believe in this. Or hang on, I might change my beliefs or my opinions on something because he actually makes sense.
Well, yeah. And I believe certain things in life because of facts and reading and asking questions and life experiences. Now, if something changes, maybe I have a new life experience like, whoa, that didn't add up with everything I knew before. Then I'm always able and willing to change my mind, not tell the other person, well, you're a fool. I'm not changing my mind, even though the evidence is there. I'm not changing my mind.
Yep.
You're an idiot. Get
Yep.
out of here. So the fact that you say be kind to one another is great. And we're talking to Josh from the Australian Naturist Federation. the Queensland representative and also the public relations officer for the larger group. And Josh, you had mentioned something about a beach safe initiative. What is that all about?
So it was created by a lady by the name of Jay, in Queensland, in a group called QSN, Queensland Social Nudists.
Mm.
And obviously Queensland don't have any legal nude beaches, and at the time our Queensland beaches were being heavily patrolled by police, and it was because of untoward people, or what we call meerkats, sitting up in the dunes doing untoward things. So
Yeah.
she thought, how do we stop this, and how do we protect the police from coming down onto our unofficial beaches so that we can enjoy them without being fined and all that sort of stuff? So she came up with this idea of having a whistle, and it's only a real small whistle. And I'm showing Frank now, and obviously the viewers aren't going to be able to see it, but it's a very,
Mhm.
very small whistle. And it goes on a rubber armband that goes on your wrist, and you can wear it down the beach or anywhere for that matter, anywhere. And if you see some untoward behavior happening on the beach, you just simply blow it. And obviously, peeping toms and meerkats are not going to want the attention from everyone on the beach because they're doing untoward stuff. So it's designed for everyone to turn around and look, and they go, oh, okay. And then the meerkats or the peeping toms move on. The ANF actually hand these out for free on all
Mhm.
our beaches, throughout Australia, when one of the committee members is on the beach for the day. So, and we just hand it
Oh.
out and explain what it's all about. So, our goal for the ANF is for these whistles to be handed out on every beach in Australia, not just the clothing optional ones, because obviously untoward stuff happens on normal beaches as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very much so. Does it say anything on the whistle that it's from the International Naturist Federation? Or
Yeah, so it's not just our initials written on it, ANF, and then just on the
okay,
armband, it's got the Australian Naturist Federation on it. So, yeah.
well, that's very good work. Glad you're doing that. And before we go, Josh, you had mentioned that there's a bill in play. I don't know how far along it is, but to kind of sort of get naturism in Australia aligned with maybe how the UK does it. Maybe just take us through that.
Yeah, so a fella in WA has done an awesome job in writing up or proposing a bill, and he's written a bill, and it's very, very well written, and it's to basically weed out what we were talking about before in regards to sort of someone walking on a public path, looking into someone's backyard and being done for indecent exposure. It's making nudity more acceptable in Australia. And like you said, aligning ourselves with the UK, and New Zealand and Europe for that matter. That lovely rule that I absolutely love in those countries in regards to, if you're the first one on the beach, and you want to get your kid off, you get your kid off, and then it becomes a naturist
Hey,
beach.
nice.
Just little things like that. So, and being able to go for a skinny dip and not be classed as indecent. So, as long as you're not performing an indecent act, you're not going to get fined. Pretty much, that's what this bill is all about. And we're trying to put that into a national side of thing. It's not a state-based thing. It's going to the sort of the federal government, to try and push this through, and then we can concentrate on the state governments after that and try and get this bill through. And he's actually been told that we need to have 10,000 signatures on this bill before it goes to Parliament for us to even get heard.
Are you close to that? Are you on your way, or where are you at?
We're getting close. We've only just started the whole PR push, at the minute. So yeah, so I mentioned GNA and all the other groups throughout Australia. We're really trying to get on board and everyone get behind the same push and the same movement to get the same message out, rather than three or four different things coming in, and just have one bill go to Parliament so that it gets pushed through.
Yeah,
So yeah, fingers crossed we get there and we can get our laws changed in Australia for naturism and even nudity accepted.
yeah.
So, and as you would have heard on our Grin and Barrett's, Mick and I sort of making nudity normal.
Yes, that's exactly right. Now, we have a lot of listeners in New Zealand, which is not all that far from Australia.
It's just
And
across the ditch.
yeah, and totally different. They can pretty much be nude anywhere. Again, appropriately so, not doing wild, inappropriate things. And
Yes.
one of our listeners wrote in. He was traveling along somewhere. I forgot where he had gone, but it was a few hours to get home, and he was driving clothes free. And he had an electric car, and had to stop and recharge. And he just got out of his car naked. And he's recharging the car, and some other people pulled up fully clothed. They saw him. And, they can't. I guess people talk at these charging stations like, "Hey, how's your day going now? Where are you going?" And they came over and talked to him like it was just an average day of the week. That would be the goal to get to, right? Instead of, "Oh my gosh."
But that would be the perfect goal where we want to get to,
Yeah.
that nudity becomes normal.
Yes. Yes.
How long it's going to take before we get there is another thing, but yeah.
Well,
And like, here we are, we're part of the monarchy here in Australia, and in the UK and New Zealand have got these laws, but in Australia we're so far detached from those two countries. It's not funny. We couldn't be any further away from the spectrum in that
yeah.
respect of their laws. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Well, shows like this, shows like Grin and Bear It, the one that you do and your federation, we're doing the right thing. We're moving the movement forward, and eventually we'll get there, Josh. It's just a little slower than we want, and maybe we won't get
It's a
everybody, but
slow and painful
yeah,
process,
we're
isn't
getting there.
it?
And again, we've been talking to Josh. He is the public relations officer for the Australian Naturist Federation. He's also the representative for the Queensland group. And Josh, it's been great to talk to you. And as new information comes out, as new initiatives, this bill you talked about, any of that stuff going on in Australia, feel free to get in touch with us and we'll get you back on.
Most definitely. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, you bet. It's been a great conversation. Again, Josh from Australia, the Australian Naturist Federation. Josh, go out there and have a great clothes-free day. We'll talk again soon.
No worries. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Thank you. The very terrific Josh, the current public relations officer for the Australian Naturist Federation, and we thank Josh for all of his time on these last two shows. And on the next two shows, which will be episodes 97 and 98, we will speak with Jason Stern, a naturism author with a brand new book. And before we head home for the day, let's bring Lisa Monroe back in. Welcome back, Lisa Monroe.
It's good to be back, and that was a fantastic interview.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the time with Josh. I enjoy the time we spent here with every single guest because something is learned through every interview, and plus a greater connection is made. And he's doing magnificent work down there as the public relations director for the Australian Naturist Federation. And he also does his own show. They've had a show for the Federation for a long time. He's now the lead guy on that show. It's a video show. I'm not sure how often it comes out. But you can tell by listening to him, as you just did, or by watching his show, this guy is just maybe one of the happiest people of all time. Did you pick up on that as well?
I certainly did. And you can hear it in his voice and that lovely accent that I adore, the Australian accents. But he definitely seems like this is a passion for him. This is the way he feels life should be lived, and he's just great. And it was a fabulous interview. And it's just wonderful to see the Australians seem to have a very good atmosphere and feeling about naturism, and that's terrific.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of women, and you're one of them, you just said it, who have said, "Oh, I love that Australian accent." Do you think any Australian women hear me and say, "Oh my gosh, I love that American accent"? I've never heard that before, so I can fantasize, right?
Yes, you can. Of course, Frank. They're just swooning over you. No, no, I'm sure they do, and because our accents are quite foreign to them, so I'm sure they do.
Well, that's something you do every week. You walk in and say, "Thank goodness I'm here. I can hear Frank's voice." That's the only thing that keeps me going is your constant praising of my voice, just like of the Australian men.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, it's just overwhelmingly incredible. Can't get enough.
Yeah, and of course, I just made all that up. She doesn't really say that.
Well, I do like it when you say Monroe.
Yeah, see, you like that part. All right, Lisa, we must head for the hills. Go out there and have a great clothes-free week. We'll see you next time.
All right, you too, guys. Everyone have a great time this week.
All right. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 96 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked Nudists and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.